Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling something that's pretty out there, the concept of bending reality.
Sounds a little woo-woo, right?
Yeah, it kind of does, and that's what makes it so fun to explore. So this idea is coming from the source material that you shared, and I gotta say, it's pretty fascinating how they present it as this kind of hidden knowledge, something that's
Only accessible to a select few.
exactly like some kind of secret code to unlock this different level of existence.
Right. And what I find really interesting is how the source goes beyond just, positive thinking. It's suggesting a much more active role in shaping our reality.
Like, we're not just attracting good things, but actually fundamentally changing the fabric of our
Yeah,
experience.
through perception and thought and belief, the whole shebang.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's unpack this a bit. So the first concept that they introduce is perception as a lens. They argue that most people see reality through this limited lens, while those who have mastered this secret, let's call it, can expand their perception and therefore their experience.
It's like upgrading from a basic camera lens to a wide-angle, high-definition one,
Right,
right?
you got it. You see more, you experience more vividly.
The source actually uses this example of like two people looking at the same event.
Okay.
One person just sees the problems, the limitations, what could go wrong.
Uh-huh.
The other sees opportunity, potential, a chance to grow.
And they're saying it's not the event itself that's different, but the lens.
The lens through which it's being perceived, yeah.
So if we learn to shift our perception, we can actually change how we experience reality.
That's what they're suggesting. And they even take it a step further with this idea of thoughts as blueprints.
Voss's blueprints.
Okay.
Okay, now hold on. Are they saying that just thinking about something can make it happen?
They do connect it to the law of attraction, which I'm sure a lot of people listening are familiar with.
Yeah.
But they're going beyond simply attracting what you focus on.
So it's not just like wishing for something.
No, they're saying thoughts are like energetic blueprints, that they create the framework for our reality.
Okay, so it's more about holding a clear mental image of it, like an architect designing a building.
Exactly. They even use the analogy of a sculptor shaping clay.
I like that.
Our thoughts mold this formless energy of the universe into specific forms and experiences.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together. First, we have perception as a lens, how we choose to see the world, then thoughts as blueprints, the mental images that shape our reality. But what about our beliefs? Where do those fit in?
The source dives into that as well, with the concept of beliefs as architects.
Beliefs as architects.
Mhm. They argue that beliefs are not just reactions to the world, but they are the very structures that shape the world we experience.
Whoa. So it's not that we see the world a certain way and then form beliefs based on what we see, but our beliefs actually determine what we see and experience.
That's exactly what they're suggesting.
Okay, now that's a bit mind-blowing.
They even go so far as to say that, like, changing our beliefs can literally change our reality.
Give me an example because I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Well, they use the example of someone who believes they're just incapable of public speaking. That belief will manifest in their reality as, nervousness, anxiety, and maybe even a physical inability to speak clearly.
Okay. But then if that person were to shift their belief, like really truly believe that they are a confident and engaging speaker.
Their reality would shift accordingly. Yeah.
Wow, it's like we're living in this self-created matrix shaped by our perceptions, thoughts, and beliefs.
That's a great analogy. And the source, they take it even further. They emphasize the power of identity.
The power of identity.
They claim that who you believe you are at your core determines what's possible for you.
So it's like almost like those superhero origin stories where the character suddenly discovers they have these hidden powers they never knew about.
In a way, yeah. The source encourages listeners to step into the identity of the person they want to become, like to embody the version of themselves who already possesses the qualities, skill, and experiences that they desire.
So it's not just about wishing or hoping, but actually becoming that person in our minds and actions.
Precisely. And they argue that belief precedes evidence. You have to believe in this new you before the external reality catches up.
So it's kind of like fake it till you make it, but on a much deeper level.
More like believe it till you see it.
Okay, I'm following you so far. We've covered perception as a lens, thoughts as blueprints, beliefs as architects, and now identity as a force. This is a lot, but it's fascinating. What's next on this journey of reality bending?
Well, now the source takes a really interesting turn. They introduce the concept of time.
Time.
but not as a linear progression, but as this flexible construct that responds to the energy we bring to it.
Wait a minute, are they saying that we can actually manipulate time?
They talk about collapsing time, aligning our energy with the future we want.
Acting as if it's already real.
Exactly.
This is where it starts to get a little mind-bendy for me.
It is mind-bendy.
Mm.
But they suggest that, in the realm of quantum physics, there's no rigid distinction between past, present, and future.
So instead of seeing time as this fixed, unchangeable thing...
We can influence its flow by shifting our focus and energy.
Exactly.
They connect this back to the idea of frequency. Remember, we talked about thoughts having a certain frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're saying that by embodying the energy and feeling of our desired future, we're essentially vibrating at the same frequency as that future.
Drawing it closer to us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about visualizing that future outcome, it's about feeling it as if it's happening right now. Okay, my brain's starting to hurt a little, but it's incredibly intriguing. So we've got perception, thoughts, beliefs, identity, and now time, all playing a role in shaping reality. That is a lot to process. Where do we even go from here?
Well, the source then brings in this crucial element of action.
The action.
They argue that while thoughts, beliefs, and identity are essential, they need to be coupled with aligned action to truly bend reality.
So it's not enough to just sit around visualizing and hoping for the best.
You got to take steps towards your goals, yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean? Aligned action. What are we aligning with exactly?
Aligning with your vision, with your beliefs, and with the version of yourself who's already achieved that desired outcome. Think of it like a surfer riding a wave.
Okay.
You can't force the wave to come, right?
Right.
But you can position yourself to ride it with skill and grace when it does.
So it's about surrendering control, trusting the process, and taking action from a place of inner knowing rather than from a place of fear or need.
That's the essence of it. And this leads to the concept they call the universe as a partner.
Okay, here we go. This is where things get even more interesting, right? The universe as a partner. What are we talking about? Some kind of cosmic consciousness, a higher power?
The source doesn't get into specific religious or spiritual beliefs. They simply propose that the universe is this field of intelligent energy.
Okay.
And it responds to our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
Interesting.
See, it communicates with us through synchronicities.
Synchronicities.
And intuition, guiding us towards our highest potential.
Okay, so the universe is like this vast intelligence that we're constantly in dialogue with, whether we realize it or not.
That's what they're suggesting. They argue that most people are so caught up in their own thoughts and worries, they miss those subtle cues from the universe.
It's like we're walking around with a cell phone that has full reception, but we never bother to check it for messages.
Exactly. The source emphasizes the importance of being present, aware, and receptive to those signals.
Like learning a new language.
The language of the universe.
So instead of trying to force our will upon reality, we should be more attuned to this cosmic dance, trusting that the universe has our back and is guiding us in the right direction.
That's what they suggest. And this brings us to the idea of co-creation and surrender.
Surrender? Wait a minute. Isn't that giving up? I thought we were talking about bending reality, not letting it bend us.
Right, right. They present surrender not as a form of weakness, but as the ultimate act of trust and empowerment. It's about releasing the need to control every little detail and trusting in the unfolding of a larger plan.
So letting go of the reins a little, trusting the universe's wisdom, and becoming a co-creator rather than a dictator of our reality.
That's the essence of it. And this leads to two final concepts they emphasize: gratitude and presence.
Those sound a lot more grounded and practical than some of the other ideas we've been discussing.
They are. But the source connects them to this larger framework of reality bending. They say gratitude is this powerful magnet.
A magnet.
That attracts more abundance into our lives.
So it's not just about being thankful for what we have, but about cultivating this general attitude of gratitude as a way to shape our reality.
Exactly. And they tie this to the concept of presence. The more present we are in each moment, the more power we have to consciously shape our reality.
Okay, that makes sense. Because if we're constantly dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, we're not fully engaged in the present moment. And that's where creation actually happens.
Right. They compare it to trying to paint a masterpiece while looking at a blurry photograph instead of the actual scene in front of you.
Wow, this has been a whirlwind tour of some pretty mind-blowing concepts. Perception, thoughts, beliefs, identity, time, action, the universe as a partner, co-creation, surrender, gratitude, and presence. A lot to digest, but it's incredibly fascinating.
It certainly is, and we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to explore within each of these concepts.
Well, before we dive deeper into the specific applications and implications of all of this, let's take a moment to let it all sink in.
Yeah, what stands out to you from all these ideas so far?
What sparks your curiosity? What feels resonant, even if you're not sure why?
Hold on to those thoughts and feelings as we continue our exploration in part two. One thing that really struck me from the last segment is how the source emphasizes consistency and persistence in this whole reality bending thing.
Yeah, they make it clear it's not a one and done deal. No magic wands or instant transformations.
Exactly. They compare it to like building a house. You don't just lay one brick and call it a day.
Right, you need a solid foundation, careful planning, and consistent effort over time to create something lasting.
They argue that small daily shifts in our perception, our thoughts, our actions, they gradually compound.
Creating momentum toward our desired reality.
It's a little
So it's
strat-
more like a marathon, a sprint.
Precisely.
Hmm.
They talk about the importance of discipline, the ability to consistently direct our energy and focus, even when we're not seeing immediate results.
That can be tough though, right? It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't happening as quickly as we'd like.
Oh, absolutely. And the source addresses that directly. They talk about the importance of detachment,
Detachment.
not in the sense of apathy, but in releasing attachment to specific outcomes.
So not giving up on our goals altogether, but just sort of loosening our grip on how they're supposed to manifest.
That's a good way to put it.
Because I'm thinking, isn't that kind of contradictory? How can we actively shape our reality if we're detaching from the outcome?
That's a great question. And the source argues that when we're overly attached to a specific outcome, we create resistance,
Resistant.
almost like clenched fist trying to force something to happen.
So by loosening our grip, by surrendering to the process, we actually allow things to flow more smoothly.
That's their perspective. It's about shifting our focus from it's not here yet to it's already done,
Mm-hmm.
embodying the feeling of having already achieved our goal.
It's like trusting that the universe has a plan, even if we can't see the full picture right now.
Right. And that ties back to what we were discussing earlier about the universe as a partner communicating through synchronicities and intuition.
It's like when we're in that state of relaxed awareness, those subtle cues and opportunities become more apparent.
They argue that when we're forcing things, we might miss those crucial nudges from the universe.
It's like trying to listen to a quiet whisper in a noisy room. We need to quiet our minds and tune in to that subtler frequency.
Exactly. And that brings us to another fascinating concept from the source, the idea that our actions have ripple effects impacting not just ourselves, but the world around us.
So it's not just about personal gain or bending reality for our own benefit.
They suggest that our desires and actions are interconnected with this larger web of energy.
Like we're all part of this interconnected system.
Right, and we have a responsibility to consider the impact we're having.
It's like throwing a pebble into a pond. The ripples extend outwards, affecting the entire ecosystem.
They argue that when we align our desires with the greater good, our power to shape reality actually amplifies.
So it's not just about manifesting our own dreams, but about contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Precisely. They highlight the importance of service, not from a place of sacrifice, but from a recognition that we're all part of this interconnected system.
They even link this to abundance, suggesting that by contributing to the well-being of others, we create more abundance for everyone, including ourselves.
It's a shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, recognizing that there's enough for everyone to thrive.
And this ties back to the idea of co-creation working with the universe rather than trying to dominate it.
Yes. It's like we're all weaving this tapestry of reality together, and each of our choices and actions contributes to the overall pattern.
It makes you think about the impact of our thoughts, words, and actions on a much grander scale.
And it leads to the final point. The source emphasizes the importance of trusting in our own evolution.
Trusting in our own evolution.
They argue that we're not static beings, but are constantly growing, changing, stepping into new versions of ourselves.
So like shedding old skins, outdated beliefs, and limiting identities to make space for something new to emerge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that this process of evolution is crucial to staying aligned with the flow of the universe and continuing to shape our reality in ever more powerful ways.
Okay, so it's not about clinging to a rigid plan.
No, it's about surrendering to the mystery of the unfolding journey.
Embracing the unknown, trusting that we're always being guided towards our highest potential, even when the path isn't clear.
They encourage us to embrace the unknown, to trust that we're always being guided toward our highest potential.
Even when things feel uncertain or chaotic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they suggest that this willingness to adapt and evolve is what allows us to stay ahead of the curve, to navigate the changing tides of reality with grace and fluidity.
It's a pretty inspiring perspective, isn't it? It suggests that we're not limited by our past or by circumstances, but have the power to continuously create and recreate ourselves.
It's empowering to think that we're not just products of our environment, but active participants in shaping our destiny.
I love how this source blends these seemingly mystical concepts with practical advice. You know, it's not just airy-fairy theories, but a framework for actually living a more intentional and empowered life.
And it doesn't shy away from the challenges involved.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that this is an ongoing process requiring disciplined commitment and a willingness to face our fears and limitations.
It's not a quick fix or a magic formula, but a lifelong journey of self-discovery and transformation.
They even suggest that embracing failure as a learning opportunity is crucial to this process.
So it's not about being perfect, but about learning from our mistakes and continuing to move forward.
Exactly. They remind us that we're not alone in this journey.
It's like we have this unseen support system guiding us towards our highest potential.
And that's a truly empowering thought. It suggests that we're not victims of a circumstance, but co-creators of our reality.
So if someone is listening to this and feeling inspired to start bending their own reality, where do they even begin?
That's the million-dollar question. And the first step is simply to become aware of the power of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
To recognize that we're not just passive observers of reality, but active participants.
And to start paying attention to those subtle cues from the universe, the synchronicities, intuitions, and gut feelings that we often brush aside.
To cultivate a sense of gratitude for what we have and for what's on its way.
And to trust in the process, knowing that even when things aren't going as planned, there's a bigger picture unfolding.
And maybe most importantly, to be kind to ourselves along the way.
Absolutely. This is a journey, not a race.
It's about embracing the ups and downs, the successes and setbacks, and trusting that we're exactly where we need to be in this moment.
That's such a powerful reminder. We're so conditioned to strive, achieve, and constantly be doing that we often forget to simply be present and appreciate the journey itself.
The source reminds us that this is not about achieving some distant goal of perfection, but about enjoying the process of becoming.
It's like savoring each brushstroke as we paint our masterpiece, rather than obsessing over the finished product.
And that brings us to a crucial question. How do we actually apply all this heady philosophical stuff to our everyday lives?
That's what I'm wondering. It's all well and good to talk about bending reality, but how do we make it tangible, actionable, and relevant to the challenges we face in our day-to-day lives?
Well, let's explore that in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've made it to the final part of our deep dive, and I think it's time to bring things down to earth a little bit.
Ground ourselves, yeah.
Exactly. Because we've been exploring some pretty out there concepts, bending reality, manipulating time, the universe as a partner.
Heady stuff.
It is, but now the question is, how do we actually apply all this in our daily lives? We can't just snap our fingers and manifest a winning lottery ticket.
Right, and the source acknowledges that. They say this is about subtle shifts and consistent effort, not magic tricks.
So no shortcuts.
No shortcuts. But they do suggest that the principles they've laid out could be applied to any area of life, whether it's finances, relationships, health, even creative pursuits.
So it's about taking those big mind-bending ideas and finding practical ways to integrate them into our everyday experiences.
Finding the bridge between the cosmic and the concrete.
I like that. So where do we start?
Well, they offer some specific strategies for doing just that. Remember the idea of perception as a lens? They suggest regularly questioning our habitual ways of seeing things.
So instead of just automatically assuming the worst or letting our limiting beliefs color our view, we can choose to look for the opportunities and possibilities in any situation.
Exactly. They call it reframing, shifting our perspective to see things from a new angle.
Okay, I can see how that could be powerful because we often get stuck in a rut, seeing things the same way over and over again.
They even suggest simple exercises, like literally changing our physical viewpoint to help break out of those rigid mental patterns.
Interesting. So even something as simple as looking at a problem from a different angle, literally, can help us shift our perception.
They say it can. They also emphasize the importance of cultivating awareness of our thoughts. Remember, they call thoughts blueprints for our reality.
Right.
So becoming more mindful of what we're thinking and feeling is crucial.
So it's about Noticing those negative thought patterns that might be holding us back and consciously choosing to replace them with more empowering thoughts.
That's a key piece of it. And they suggest using affirmations, visualizations, even gratitude practices to help us shift those thought patterns.
What about the concept of beliefs as architects? How do we go about changing those deeply ingrained beliefs that might be shaping our reality in ways we don't even realize?
The source acknowledges that this is often the most challenging part of the process.
I bet.
They suggest starting by simply becoming aware of our limiting beliefs, those negative assumptions about ourselves or the world that hold us back.
So things like, I'm not good enough, I'll never be successful, or money is hard to come by.
Exactly. Once we've identified those beliefs,
Mhm.
we can start to question their validity. Where did those beliefs come from? Are they really true? What evidence do we have to support them?
A lot of them probably came from our childhood experiences, societal conditioning, or even past failures that we've kind of internalized.
Right. And often, we're carrying around beliefs that are completely outdated or no longer serve us.
Like old computer programs running in the background, creating glitches in our reality.
That's a great way to put it. So it's about becoming aware of those programs and start to rewrite the code. They suggest using affirmations, visualizations, and journaling to reprogram those limiting beliefs.
Choosing new beliefs that are aligned with the reality we want to create.
Yes.
What about the power of identity? How do we actually become the person we want to be?
They suggest starting by identifying the qualities and characteristics of that ideal self. Who is the version of you who's already achieved your goals, living the life you desire? What did that person think, feel, and do?
It's like creating a detailed character sketch, but for our future selves.
Exactly. And then it's about taking steps to align our current thoughts, feelings, and actions with that ideal self. They emphasize the importance of acting as if.
So even if we don't fully believe it yet, we can start to act as if we're already that confident, successful, or fulfilled person.
Exactly. And they suggest that by doing so, we're sending a powerful message to the universe, to ourselves, and to those around us. We're creating a new reality by embodying the person we want to become.
Which brings us back to the concept of aligned action, right? It's not just about doing something, it's about taking actions that are inspired by our vision.
And aligned with our desired reality.
Right. So how do we know if our actions are truly aligned?
The source gives a really helpful framework for that. They suggest asking ourselves, does this action come from a place of fear or lack, or from a place of trust and abundance?
So if we're frantically scrambling, trying to force things to happen, that's probably not aligned action.
Probably not. Aligned action comes from a deeper place. It's inspired, purposeful, and often feels surprisingly effortless.
Like we're flowing with the current rather than swimming upstream.
Exactly. They use the analogy of a sailboat catching the wind. When we're aligned, we can effortlessly move forward.
Propelled by a force greater than ourselves.
Yes. And that ties into the idea of the universe as a partner, right?
Surrendering to the flow, trusting the process, and allowing the universe to guide us.
They emphasize the importance of paying attention to synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that seem to guide us in the right direction, and listening to our intuition.
That inner voice that often knows what's best for us even when we don't logically understand why.
It's like having a cosmic GPS system, but we need to be tuned in to receive the signals.
And finally, they emphasize gratitude and presence as essential practices for this whole reality bending thing.
They suggest that gratitude acts like an amplifier, attracting more abundance into our lives.
So it's not just about being thankful for the good things, but about cultivating a general attitude of gratitude as a way of shaping our reality.
Precisely. And they tie this into the importance of presence. They argue that the more present we are in each moment, the more power we have to consciously choose our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and therefore, to shape our reality.
It's about shifting our focus away from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future and bringing our attention to the present moment.
Where creation actually happens, they suggest practices like mindfulness meditation, mindful breathing, and simply taking time to appreciate the beauty and wonder of the present moment as powerful ways to cultivate presence.
It sounds like we're not just passive passengers on this journey of life, but active co-creators of our reality.
That's the essence of it.
It's an empowering thought and maybe even a little bit daunting.
It is a lot to take in.
It is.
Right.
But I think the source offers a really valuable perspective, a way of looking at the world and our place in it that is full of possibility and potential.
I agree.
And even if we don't fully buy into every single concept they present, I think there's something here for everyone. A reminder that we have more power than we often realize to shape our lives and create a reality that is aligned with our deepest desires and values.
And a reminder that we're not alone in this journey. We have each other, and we have the universe itself as our partner in creation.
Well said. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
To everyone listening out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating the reality you desire.